Our traditional 9/11 service varies from year to year. What we tend to do is when it's a major anniversary, the 5, 10, 15-year anniversaries, we usually have a much more formal presentation, but we don't want to take those off years and forget 9/11. And I'll tell you why that's important that we not forget that, because time keeps moving forward. I have a aunt that made it to 106 years of age, was born in 1910. And it was a time, for the longest time, that she was able to tell us all about the Great Depression, because at the age of 19, she was working on Wall Street and remembered when people jumped off of buildings and actually witnessed the Depression. You didn't need to go to a history book to read about it. I had somebody alive who could tell you that. But the fact is that I would say, as I peruse the people that are here today, probably half of those that are here weren't alive when 9/11 took place. I recently had students do essays the last 2 years, and every single one of those people that wrote an essay were not alive during 9/11. So as time moves forward, it becomes, it fogs, it grays, it starts to become harder for people to remember details about 9/11. And then, of course, as time goes on, it becomes faded. And that can never happen, because if we forget our history, then we're, as we know, bound to repeat it. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do right now is to light their candles as a recognition, a somber recognition of what was lost. And I'm going to ask the council members to read individually the names of the East Brunswick residents who unfortunately perished on 9/11 and whose names are on the monument that was placed here in their honor and their memory many years ago. So if you have an opportunity, please stop by and look at that. I'm going to turn it over to Council President Kevin McAvoy.
Thank you, Mayor. And let me introduce Councilwoman Dana Winston.
Su Nya Ang. Susan Blair.
Paul W. Inella. Widar Jang. Alan David Kleinberg.
Stuart Lewis. Suzanne Pissarro.
Kenneth Van Auken.
We're going to ask our bugler, John Merriman, to play taps. I'd like to thank Assemblyman Sterling Stanley, who's here on stage with me today, East Brunswick resident Nancy Pinkin, our county clerk, and 4 of our 5 council members, Council President Kevin McAvoy, Council Vice President Dana Zimbicki, Councilman Dinesh Bahal, and Councilwoman Dana Winston. At this point, I would like everybody to please have a moment of silence. Thank you. This year, again, we had asked several of our high school students to participate in this ceremony by writing an essay about the things that they valued most in their lives in recognition of what was lost on 9/11 and how it teaches us as a community to recognize things that we often take for granted. We were very fortunate because we had a huge number of students that did turn in essays, and we did narrow it down to 3. So I'd like to announce those 3 winners and ask that they come up and accept a gift certificate on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department for their efforts in writing an essay that were the winners. The first is Rohan Aziz. You can say it there. Our second winner was Arushi Panchal. Congratulations. And the final winner was Eric Zhu. Congratulations. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Before closing, what I usually like to do in these off-year type of celebrations for 9/11 is ask if there's anybody here today that has a particular recollection of 9/11 and something that they would like to share with the rest of us. Please don't be afraid of getting up in front of the group and speaking. I think again, in keeping with what I said from the beginning, telling the stories and recalling what we experience is how we pay honor to those people who were lost. So if there's anybody here who would like to do that, I would appreciate that. Nathan. Just tell me when you are first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Gampel. I've been an East Brunswick resident for about 6 years now, and I'm proud to call East Brunswick my home. When 9/11 happened all those years ago, I was obviously a much younger man, and I was fortunate enough that the beautiful young lady who's taking a picture of me right now was up all night crying, because if not for her, I might not be here today. Without boring everybody here, because I know it's late and I know there's a lot of emotion and a lot of different thoughts here, with my own 9/11 story, I'd be happy to stay around after to answer questions or share the details of the story. When Mayor Cohen asked me to say a few words about 9/11, what I really wanted to talk about was power. The power of teamwork. What 9/11 taught me, when I survived and I ran away and the buildings fell and I was enveloped by a gigantic dust cloud, when I said the Shema because I thought I was going to die, those were events that stuck with me my entire life and changed who I was as a person. They showed me the unbelievable power that we have when we team and how frightening it can be. But it also showed me, 9/11, the power of good that teams can do. From firefighters and first responders to people like even myself who saw a cell phone fall and did everything I could do to return that cell phone. Back then there was no GPS, so we did the best that we could. Because for a brief shining moment in the large city of New York City, we were all family and we were all one. And so as Mayor Cohen mentioned, as year after year goes by and as people are born and people maybe weren't there and people forget, let's not forget the awesome power of teams and the awesome power of community and everybody who's standing here tonight, because together the difference that we can make can be both frightening, but it can also be awesome. Thank you for listening.
Is there anybody else that would like to? Bronson. Welcome.
I'm Rong Zunpu, and people who are not my colleagues think my name is too difficult to pronounce. They just call me Robin, so just call me Robin. I've been a resident of East Brunswick for 20 years, and I remember 9/11 very well on a clear Tuesday morning. Because the same day it happened, I happened to be giving my very first lecture at a state university near New York City. There were no cell phones, there were just rumors, and terrified rumors. And we didn't know what was going on, and I happened to be scrambling for the key to open the classroom. But that's not what I wanted to tell you about. I want to tell you about what some of the first responders had to sacrifice for our safety. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to be coming up here to speak. When my child was in 3rd grade at Wonstoffer, there was a new girl who transferred from Pennsylvania. And my daughter was invited to a birthday party. And then I got to know that family very, very well. That family lives right here in East Brunswick. They went to hell and came back. They went to hell again and came back and went back to hell again. They are still struggling. You don't hear about them because they don't complain. They said they are Christians, and they said, Lord, if you want to send someone in this great time of need, send me, and they were sent. I've seen pictures of them carrying people out in that dust storm. You all know. I didn't know him or the family when 9/11 happened, but I do know them through my daughter and their granddaughter because they were classmates and best friends for a long time and still remain good friends now, several years later. But I visited them. They told me all the stories. What I can tell you, the first thing that first responders suffered was their health. They often gain 30 to 50 pounds in the first months because toxins you cannot pee out. They stay with you and make you gain a lot of fat tissue. And from there, your health will just deteriorate. And they became very depressed. The entire family was bogged down, and their kids were very affected, and the grandkids suffered a lot, all because of the health issues. It all started downhill from there. Please remember them. This first responder, he won't be here today because he's so severely disabled, but he only lives a couple of miles from where we are. His name is Michael Simons. There's another first responder from 9/11 who lives right here in East Brunswick, and the third one who moved here to East Brunswick. Please remember them while they are still alive. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe one more if there's someone who wants to speak. Please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Roth, and I'm a longtime resident of East Brunswick. Hard to follow that. I was a member of the East Brunswick Rescue Squad. On 9/11, so many of you are so young, you have no idea what the people in this town did. My husband was a member of the fire company. They were called on to go to Brooklyn to cover because the guys in Brooklyn had to go into New York. The East Brunswick Rescue Squad was called on to participate. I went with a crew. We sent 2 of our ambulances. It is a scene that I will never, ever forget. We went up the turnpike, and all you could see on the New Jersey Turnpike were lights from ambulances, police cars, fire engines. I actually had no idea what I was going to be getting myself into because I had not watched the news that day. I had started off my day in a business suit at a meeting, so I never saw the television. And I never saw what happened until I was stationed at Liberty State Park. We were first sent to the fire academy where we were briefed. And then we went to the Meadowlands What happened in that day, the fire company in this town, and I just say that because I want the residents here to know what our volunteers do. The fire company, the police, the rescue squad, in the month of August, 1 month before the towers, had a drill that prepared us for what would happen in a mass casualty. So when I went to Liberty State Park, I was prepared. And then I stood there and I looked across the water, and I just want you to know what it looked like that day. It was smoke. The Statue of Liberty was still there untouched, and the helicopters just rotated around the Statue of Liberty. You could not be there and not be emotional. We were told that there were terrorists in the park. There weren't, but nobody knew. It was the worst, most frightening day. I couldn't even contact my family. My brother worked downtown. I didn't know if he was alive or not. It was a horrendous day for everybody. And at the end of the day, we were told there are no people alive for us to take care of. But if we want, we could stay and pull bodies the next day. I have to be honest with you. I'm a medical person. I did not want to be pulling dead bodies. So we left. But to this day, if I close my eyes, I see the New Jersey Turnpike. I see the cars, the first responders massed up in the Meadowlands, and I see what happened from my station in Liberty State Park. So for you young people, never forget. And it was all the towns who have volunteers, people who give of themselves, who rushed out that day. This I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. I too recall actually on 9/11, I was working in the hospital as an obstetrician. 2 people delivered that day. They asked me to turn the television off. I was also keenly aware, and the hospital was making notices to all of us that we needed to hurry up and make sure that anybody that didn't need to be in the hospital was discharged. The operating rooms were told only take care of cases that were emergencies. Anything that was elective should be canceled because everybody expected that there would be mass casualties, and each of the hospitals in the region needed to be prepared, just like Sandy was saying, for this mass onslaught of people who would need medical care. And after hours went by and people were glued to the television, it was such an eerie feeling to walk through a major hospital with virtually nobody there but medical professionals waiting to help for people, and nobody came. What we need to recognize, as was mentioned already, was the bravery of our first responders who, in the face of such a threat, walked right into to that to save people, and at the end of the day, many of them lost their lives. That's what we are here to memorialize today and forever. So we have many of our first responders here today. Please give a round of applause for the risk that they take every day. It can happen any day. As we close, I ask that you take a walk over to our 9/11 monument and pay respect to the people that were lost. One of the things we will be looking to do in the future, as we already learned, is that there are many victims still to this day who responded and now are succumbing to disease from having put their lives at the risk to help others. Should that occur, those names, unfortunately, if they exist, would be added to our memorial because they're victims just as much. So please remember them as well. And so, again, thank you all for coming out. Please visit the monument and have a wonderful rest of the day.